Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another virtual cafe for the Weekend Project. I'm so excited that you're here. Today's topic, of course, is a great one because we are looking at what's coming next for the Weekend Project. I'm excited. Yes, I like to see that hands clapping because it's been an incredible 3 years and we're now looking to transition. And so I'll explain why we're making that transition and I'll explain what that's going to look like, how it affects you. And then also we're going to open up questions today. I'd like to welcome Sue, who's our ASL interpreter. And if anyone would like to engage their live transcription, they can do that at the bottom of their screen. Why don't you take a moment while I introduce myself here to introduce yourselves in the Zoom chat below. Please take a moment because it's a great networking opportunity. Someone might not even know your business exists. And hey, that could be the product or service that they're looking for. So you never know where these connections can lead. My name is Kerry Ramsay. If we haven't met before, I'm suspecting we might have met before if you're here, but I am the project manager for the Weekend Project, which is led by Queen's University and funded, at least for the last 3 years, by FedDev Ontario through the Women's Entrepreneurship Strategy Ecosystem Fund. So most of you have been a part of this Weekend Project over the past 3 years. And of course, today's virtual cafe is designed to give you a heads up as to what's coming next so that you can get ready and get excited. And so I'm just continuing to let a few folks in from the waiting room. Thanks so much for those of you who are already starting to introduce yourselves in the Zoom chat below. By all means, if you want to add a website link, go ahead and do that as well. While you're taking a moment to say hello to the folks in the room, I'll take a moment to acknowledge that Queen's University is located on the ancestral territory of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples. And it is our absolute honor and privilege to live, work, and play here in this beautiful region, and to also be a part of such an incredible community of Indigenous women entrepreneurs who we've had the privilege to work with, to meet over the last 3 years. And moving forward, I know that exciting things are ahead as well. So thank you so much. Take a moment to consider what territory you are located on if you are not in the Kingston region today. Thanks so much for those of you who are blowing up the Zoom chat right now, introducing yourselves. Whether you are a client or maybe you're a part of the QPI team that works with me on Weekend, maybe you're a part of maybe you're one of our partners who has helped to deliver workshops. Please do, by all means, take a moment to let folks know who you are in the Zoom chat to say hello. All right. So if you don't already have a notebook and a pen, I do suggest that maybe you grab one for today, unless you're going to be rewatching this video recording at a later date. Sometimes it's just easier to take notes. We will also be having a Q&A time for sure to ask questions about what's next for Weekend as we get going here today. So why are we having this conversation today? That's obviously a big question. Now, it has always been the plan that this 3-year project would come to an end at some point after 3 years. Of course, March 31st, 2023, which is of course next month, is the date that has always been slated as the end of the Weekend Project as we know it, because we have been funded by FedDev Ontario for a 3-year project. All right. That time has to come to an end at some point, but we have been so grateful for the $3.4 million of investment that FedDev has made in this project. And that is why you have seen Queen's University working with some incredible partners. And I want to mention them right now. If you happen to be in the room, by the way, just raise your hand if you are a part of one of our collaboration or partner organizations. One of those is LSpark, which has delivered our Compass North Accelerator for Women in Tech. Another is Aguajo EqualSource, which does an amazing job of delivering our Quabiz program for Indigenous entrepreneurs. Kingston FedDev is also an important part of the Weekend Project, and they have delivered everything from fast tracks exporting to rural mentorship programs and the LEAD programs and many others that you may have been a part of. St. Lawrence College has also been a partner, along with Keys Job Center and the City of Kingston. Those 3 partners actually created and delivered the Your Way program for newcomer women to Canada and women with a disability, as well as BIPOC women who were interested primarily in starting culinary ventures. We've also had a number of internal partners, including Dun & Deshpande Queen's Innovation Center, and Queens Business Law Clinic, who again, many of you have been a part of. So I think I've got all of those partners. There's a whole bunch of them, so I don't want to miss anyone. And of course, our own QPI team, Queens Partnerships and Innovation. And so over the last 3 years, we at Queens have worked in partnership with these incredible organizations to deliver the programs and services you've been a part of. So what happens as of April 1st? That's the question that's been on everyone's lips, and I've been getting a lot of questions about that. So rather than drop that just one person at a time, I wanted to save it so we could discuss it together today, and also just ask questions as there may be some. Okay. So what we have decided to do, we have been pursuing different funding options for several months now, knowing that this program, this project funding was coming to an end. We wanted to get ready and get ahead of it. So we pursued various avenues. Not all of them were a great fit. We do have an application in for a large envelope of funding, which probably won't be announced for months or maybe even a year to come. So what we realized was that as of April 1st, we didn't want to leave women entrepreneurs in the greater Kingston region and Bay of Quinte high and dry because we were waiting for funding announcements. So we decided to be proactive and to build a bridge. So we are now moving into a time of transition. And so this time of transition is that Queen's University will be funding like I say, a bridge program. It's still going to be called the We Can Project. That's the good news. We don't have to make any changes there. I will be continuing as the project manager, but what will be happening is the programs and services are going to look a little bit different because now it's one person rather than Queen's working with these multiple partners. The great news is that our partners and our organizations that we've worked with are going to be continuing to also offer different programs and services, right? So they're not going anywhere. They're not going to stop supporting women entrepreneurs. And so if you are a part of We Can, you're going to know what's also happening in those areas because of our social media, because of our weekly newsletter that goes out. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is what Queen's and in particular, Queen's Partnerships and Innovation, because that's the umbrella that I fall under, what's going to happen here at We Can. And then we'll have some time. I'll just mention a couple of the other things that our other partners are also going to be working on. Okay. So as I mentioned, We Can Project will continue to operate under the same name. That means all of our social media will remain the same. So if you're not already following We Can Queens U on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, I would definitely suggest that you do that because that's where you can get some great news and information up to the minute. It's also the place, as many of you know, where we post our client profiles. So we do have hundreds, if not thousands, of followers on some of these different platforms. That means when we profile you, it puts you in front of a new audience. And so many of you have been featured. In the year to come, we're going to be looking to do some updates because that's a very exciting thing as well, to find out where people are at now. So for instance, I see Cody Calligraphy's on the call. Yesterday, we featured her. She's a brand new client. But then there are others who, have been a part of this project for 3 years, and we might have featured you years ago. I just wanted to highlight that those social media are still there. Your stories are still there. And so that will make things easy for us to make that transition. The We Can community will also remain. Okay, so I know a lot of you use that Facebook community. I'm speaking about that in particular. You post questions there. We certainly also share information. That community is going to stay there also. So you don't lose all of those hundreds of women that you've already been perhaps relying on or asking questions of and building community. What else can I say? So you might know that we also have our supplier diversity list that we've been working with in recent months to provide to Queen's procurement and for that staff and faculty to make purchases from diverse groups within the Kingston region. That supplier list will also continue. We will continue to add to that over the next year. And if you're not sure what that's all about, it basically highlights women-owned business so that when Queen's, as quite a large purchaser and organization in the city of Kingston, makes purchases, they can go to the supplier diversity list and take a look. Is there a women-owned business that provides XYZ, right? And also flagged on that supplier diversity list are BIPOC businesses. So we want to make sure that we are highlighting weekend businesses, and it's on the website right now. You can go check it out, but we will continue to be added to it. And if anyone's interested, you just email me. We just kind of closed our winter editions, but I do this, 2 or 3 times a year where we increase the number and the names who are on the list. Just reach out to me if you're interested in being added to the next one. You can also watch the newsletter. And if you're not already on our weekly newsletter, you also need to email me, okay? Because that's where I will say, hey, if anyone wants to be on the social or on the supplier diversity list for the weekend project, let me know now. Okay, so that weekly newsletter is of course going to be continuing, and it's very important that you are reading it in order to stay up to date. Okay, what else is continuing? Queen's Business Law Clinic will continue to offer free legal services to WeCan clients. So if you have a contract that you would like a lawyer to look at, and you want to save thousands of dollars, if you have a business partnership and you're like, we need to put this in writing, business insurance, incorporation, there's a lot of questions that our women entrepreneurs have had over the last 3 years. And so if meeting with a lawyer or a law student would be of interest to you, again, you can reach out. Again, you have to be a registered WeCan client, but we can deal with that when you email me. We also have, of course, the Queen's Business Law Clinic playbooks, which are listed in the newsletter every week. They're under the resources. And so make sure that you make yourself aware of those as well. Okay, so from a legal perspective, I think that's pretty important. That's been a big demand, and that will continue. On that note, I'm not sure if she's on the call because I know there's a lot of folks on the call right now, but Angela Lyon, who has in the past provided patent, trademark, intellectual property direction, that will continue as well. Angela Lyon is a part of the Queen's Partnerships and Innovation team, and she will have a certain number of hours per month to respond to requests from women entrepreneurs about trademark questions, patent questions. Let's say you have an invention, and about commercializing that. It might be, though, as simple as I have a new business. This is the name that I want to name it. Can I legally name it that? Right? And Ange does a search for you, because just because you Google it and it doesn't pop up does not mean that it's not protected by someone. So if you want to make sure you're in good legal standing before you print your business cards and pay money for your website, then it's a good idea to have a conversation with someone like Ange. So that's a service we have provided and will continue to provide. All right. Other things, our masterminds will continue. So many of you are a part or have been a part of our masterminds. We currently offer 2 masterminds, actually, yeah. We offer 4 masterminds at 2 times per year. So we have 2 early stage masterminds for women entrepreneurs and 2 growth stage masterminds for women entrepreneurs. If you don't know what a mastermind is, it's a group of 10 women. We usually have more applications than just 10, but we have 10 women who meet for about 6 months, once every 2 weeks. They keep on each other accountable. We use it for brainstorming, troubleshooting. It's an incredible, valuable resource. And if anybody here on the call today is in a mastermind and you want to put a note about that in the Zoom chat, feel free. But if you have questions, you can reach out to me about masterminds. Again, watch the newsletter. That's when we'll be announcing when the next masterminds are opening. In fact, I can tell you now, we're taking the next applications in August because this current mastermind will wrap up in March. So anyways, keep your eye on it. And they are pretty effective, I would say. And so we might even be shortening the term of that from 6 months to 4 months, just so that we can make sure we can get in as many folks as who are interested in a mastermind. The other thing that we'll be continuing is one-on-one coaching with myself. I think yesterday I logged my 350th coaching call. And so this has been a very, it's been great for me because I get to know clients one-on-one, first of all, but also we use something called the Growth Plan Challenge. And many of you have gone through that Growth Plan Challenge in our coaching sessions. It helps you grow by focusing on priorities and having someone to be accountable to, whether it's on a monthly basis or, less frequently, it's up to you. But that one-on-one coaching from myself will continue. So we can still have those calls. And so many of you have taken advantage of that. And so again, just reach out to me if that's of interest. Our online workshops will be continuing, as well as our virtual cafes. Now, I will say that we have a much smaller envelope of funding to deal with over the next year. And I actually think I did not say when this particular transition ends. I should mention it starts April 1, of course, because FedDev funding ends March 31. It goes till May 31st, 2024. Okay, so it's a full year. That's what we have planned for the transition. So over that time, we have an envelope of funding that we will be certainly continuing to provide workshops and monthly virtual cafes. And if you don't know the difference, maybe you're new to WeCan. A workshop is someone who teaches us something in about 90 minutes. And our virtual cafes like this one today are about an hour long, and they focus on a particular topic. Now, usually I'm not talking the whole time. All right, this is unusual. Usually it's on something like goal setting or imposter syndrome or something that the community has requested that we do a discussion about. And then it's an open forum. All right, so those will be continuing, I'm happy to say. What else? Those are all going to be virtual, what I've talked about so far, those cafes, the workshops, but we are planning to have at least 2 in-person events as well, likely at our, if you want to call it headquarters, at 310 Bagot Street in Kingston, which is the Seaway co-working space, if you're familiar with that. So most likely we are looking at having 2 in-person events between April 1 and the end of May. Maybe we'll have more, but at this point we're planning 2 larger ones, let's say. And of course, don't forget that if you're a person who loves in-person, many of the other organizations in town also have those. So we will be putting those in the newsletter so that you don't miss out on those. For instance, Kingston Economic Development recently held an amazing women's business panel for those of you who were able to attend. And so that's an example of an event that we would talk about and let you know, hey, this month there is an in-person if you're looking for it. But what we have surveyed our community and what they have told us is that they're very busy and they want to hop on calls like this one and then get back to work. So that's basically how we have structured it. All right. Of course, our YouTube channel is not going anywhere either. In the newsletter, if you're not aware of it, there's a WeCan, actually it's a Queen's Partnerships and Innovation YouTube channel, but all of our WeCan recordings are there. There's more than 100 amazing workshops that you can check out, and those will just continue adding to those. I guess the final thing to mention that will be continuing is we are planning to continue to offer inclusive access to our events and to whether that's virtual or to our programs. And that's important so that we are not excluding anyone from being a part of the WeCan project for any particular reason. All right, so that is also a commitment that we're making. And so that includes ASL interpretation. And thankfully, Zoom is getting better at closed captioning. So hopefully that also helps a little bit. But those are a few of the things that will remain the same. There's just 2 major things that I want to mention, well, 3, that are going to be changing. And then I'm getting to the Q&A. How's our time? Oh, 20 minutes. Look at that. Okay. I was hoping it wasn't going to take forever for me to get through all of this. Of course, the first thing that's changing, if you're just joining us, FedDev funding through the Women's Entrepreneurship Strategy Ecosystem Fund ends on March 31st, 2023. Again, this is why we're having this conversation. It has always been planned that this would be a 3-year project. All right. So that's the first thing that's ending. So our budget is going to change, obviously, as well. The eligibility criteria are changing slightly. And so this is, I think, of interest to many of you. So as you have been a part of WeCan events, programs, services, you always are asked to self-identify. And there are a whole bunch of little boxes that we ask you to tick. And there's a reason for that. It's because we're FedDev funded and we have to report on certain metrics to the government because the funding has been up to this point, of course, intended for underrepresented groups of women. That's the point of it. And so we have been so thrilled to serve more than 1,000 different women from underrepresented groups over this time. It's just been absolutely amazing. So how is that eligibility criteria going to change now that we're transitioning to a Queen's University program, if you will? Well, first of all, in terms of geography, we are not going to limit, obviously, workshops and virtual cafes. If it's an online event, anyone can come from anywhere in the world who identifies as a woman. All right, that's an important point. But we have people, I think, on the call today who probably aren't even from Canada, and that's okay, right? We don't limit our virtual calls. But when it comes to our programs and services, let's say our mastermind has 10 spots, or meeting with myself as a coach, I only have so many hours in the day. So we have to put some priority groups in place, as you can well imagine. So geographically, we are prioritizing the Kingston region and Bay of Quinte. Those are going to be our two major focuses. We are also focused on prioritizing BIPOC populations, which includes Black, Indigenous, people of color. We are also looking at prioritizing women in tech, women in healthcare, as well as Queen's faculty and staff. So all of these groups we have served over the last 3 years. So there's no difference there. But now you might actually have access to programs and services where in the past you didn't. All right. So if you in the past, if I've met with you and I said, oh, you don't meet the criteria because of this, that might change as of April 1st. So that's some good news, I think, because I expect we'll actually have more folks that we're able to serve in the area. So that is another thing that's changing. I just wanted to highlight the eligibility criteria. Again, I'll just go over that one more time. Our focus area will be the Kingston region and Bay of Quinte. And in particular, we'll be prioritizing the BIPOC population, BIPOC women, of course, Black, Indigenous, people of color, women in tech, women in healthcare, and Queen's staff and faculty. All right. The final change, of course, is one I mentioned earlier, which is that no longer are we working with our 7 partners. All right. I mean, we are working with them, but not under this particular project. We will continue to promote their events and attend them and be a big part of that. But we are no longer project managing that, if you will. All right. So that's an important change as well, to realize it's kind of now me as a sole person rather than having, let's say, some of the other coaches that maybe you've had access to in the past and different folks. However, they have not left the community. That's the good news. They're still there and we're still going to connect you with them. All right. That was a lot of information. Let's take a breath. I see Sue has been working hard to update us, and I feel like she needs a rest for her hands. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. Hold on. Okay, I have not been reading the Zoom chat. So I will now slip into the question and answer period. Would somebody like to come off mute or raise their hand? Maybe is best. If you have a question, go ahead, raise your hand. We'll start with you, Jade.
First of all, can you hear me? Yes, okay, great. I was just curious, so this is the first time I've heard about WeCan. Recently, actually, I heard about it, so I jumped on to this virtual cafe. How do I sign myself up for that? I am a woman in the Kingston area and I focus on healthcare. So I was just curious about that.
So the best way to do that is to email me and just say, hi, I'm interested. Tell me what WeCan is. I mean, you heard a little bit today. We have an application form though. And because you're still before March 31st, if you're eligible, great, we'll start serving you today. But if not, then in some cases, I'm now telling people, oh, wait, as of April 1st, you will be eligible. And so maybe you will apply under that new phase of the program. So yeah, you just email me today, Jade, and let's get started. And everyone should have my email because you got the reminder from me about this workshop. Okay, if you're confused, just go check your email. All right, Tammy, over to you for a question.
Thanks, Kerry. I want to echo what both Cheyenne and Kathy said in here. Congratulations. You've done amazing over the last 3 years. absolutely amazing. I can't say that my business would still be operating if it wasn't for you and We Can. So thank you very much for providing that. Can you clarify the qualify? So it doesn't seem like I may qualify now if I were to apply, because I'm not in Kingston or BIPOC or any of those. So is Frontenac still included? And minority women, LGBT, are they still included as well?
Yeah, excellent question. So yes, and it's just a matter of, and really it's the geography question first and foremost, but yes, for instance, if we have a mastermind coming up, and I know you're a part of the current one, if there's a mastermind coming up and we have 10 spots and there are 15 applications, so we start prioritizing that way. So basically we would put them and to say, you know, geographically, that's sort of the first place that we start, and we kind of move out from there. We've actually always done that. And so those are, you know, but underrepresented groups are still the high priority for us, but we are now actually open to more people than we have been in the past. So, I mean, I guess, I don't know if that answers your question. I think it's just a matter of saying, these are the priority areas, at least for the next year, right? And so it doesn't mean that people can't participate. It just depends on how many people have applied for that particular program. And here's the other thing is that we're also prioritizing, even though I guess we haven't said it in that way, but you know, if someone has never done a mastermind before, and you know, then they'll go also, we'll say, okay, great, this is your chance to do a mastermind. So, or a boot camp or whatever it might be. But for the large part, so access to one-on-one coaching, that's fine. That will continue. It's more of, you know, when it's a competition for a limited number of spaces. If you are already a part of the We Can project, my feeling is come on over to the next part. You know,
is it just Kingston now, or is it still Frontenac?
It's Greater Kingston region. It's not like downtown Kingston or anything like that. I would say Greater Kingston region is what we've always called it. And I think we'll just have to leave it there because then it's a matter of streets and roads. Yeah, I mean, I like the grandmother idea in that, you know, if you've been a part of the We Can project, you know, we're not going to kick you to the curb now. That's for sure. That's more for the new applicants. Okay. Not that we're kicking them to the curb either, but you know what I mean. Elena, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. It's so great to see everybody on here. I was going to ask because this is my first weekend meeting and I'm not based in the area. So I was wondering how I could offer some business education and coaching services for free as sort of an assistant to services for women.
Awesome. So where are you based?
I'm based in the United States,
Okay,
but I work with a lot of business owners in Canada. So everything.
So one example would be we have many workshops that we offer. And so if you reach out to me, Elena, there might be an opportunity to offer a free 90-minute workshop on a particular topic. And while we don't, you know, as anyone who's attended, it's not a sales call, obviously, but there's a contact information at the end if somebody wants to learn more. So that might be an opportunity to, you know, be a part. And we certainly have had a lot of folks that have intersected with We Can in that way. But yeah, reach out to me. I'm happy to chat with you more.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Cheyenne, over to you.
This is kind of similar to that. I just had a thought. I was wondering if you guys had ever considered, I know especially with the masterminds, like I'm on my third one and I do not want to like give it up. Have you ever thought of creating maybe a stream for those who've gone through them and training them to be facilitators so that then you could offer more of them in that way?
That's a great idea. So here's the thing, we have a limited budget, so that would have to go on for free. So, I mean, there is nothing stopping anyone from creating their own collective, their own breakout group, right? And we actually have had people do that. So, I mean, that's a great conversation, Cheyenne, to have, and I've made a note of it. Just so that anyone who hasn't been in, for instance, a mastermind, for each of our masterminds, we have pop-up Facebook groups also, right? So those stay and those remain. And so those 10 women continue to chat for eternity as far as I'm concerned. But that's a great idea to have this sort of next phase that might be volunteer led. That's kind of the way I would see it because we don't have the funds to pay someone to do that. However, let's chat further on that, Cheyenne. I love that idea. I've made a note. Yes. All right, we're reimagining the future is what's happening here, and I love that. Yeah. Okay, someone else with a question. I'm going to go to my second screen here to make sure I'm not missing anyone. I think everyone pops up here on the first one. I love the fact that there's people here for their first time and we're just wrapping down weekend, but that's normal. We had 5 new clients just register this week. I mean, that's very normal. And so what I've been telling folks is welcome to weekend. It's sort of going to be changing, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be just as exciting. And the cool thing is you're joining a community that's already got momentum. So, I mean, once you join the Facebook group and start being a part of our different events, you can see what will happen. Just as I'm pausing to wait for some more questions, I'm also going to mention, because I said before that our partners also are rethinking what are their next steps, right? So I want to give one example of the Harbor Kitchen in Kingston, which is a direct extension of the Your Way program. So some of you were in Your Way. I see some of you on the call now. Your Way was delivered by St. Lawrence College and Keys Job Center for women who were mostly anyways looking to create culinary businesses. And so what those women were finding was they created them, but they didn't have commercial kitchen space. So now the city of Kingston, along with Keys, has created Harbor Kitchen, which is in the old, I'm going to get this wrong, Harbor Portsmouth restaurant. I think that's the name of it. And they're using that now to offer affordable access to commercial kitchen space, training to make sure that you're up to food food inspection regulations, all of that. That initiative has come out of the Your Way program, and City of Kingston and Keys are continuing that. So watch for an article to be shared shortly in our newsletter about that. But that's an example of how, things are just continuing. Kingston Economic Development Corporation also will be doing some special initiatives. They've already begun, particularly also for, now I can't give away all details, but, obviously City of Kingston has a creative strategy. So about 80% of the artisans in the Kingston region are female. So they are women identifying. So that's a big group that they'll continue to be supporting, particularly also in the rural regions. So, there's a lot of support that's going to continue. Tammy mentioned Frontenac County. So we have the Community Futures Development Programs there, the corporation, all sorts of places that we're going to continue to work with to make sure you know what resources are available. All right, any other questions? Go ahead, Danny.
Hi, everybody. I love the idea of brainstorming. I just brainstormed with 2 lovely ladies. One is here with me. Hi, Lori. Great idea. Great idea. I'm a one-woman show, and I don't even know if I signed up with Weekend before, to be honest with you. I sign up for everything, and sometimes it just feels like, I'm drowning with life and everything. But anyway, I'm glad I'm hearing about all this, and the brainstorming is strength in women power. Love it, love it, love it, love it. So maybe Kerry, you can tell me if
Sure. So I'm actually
signed up before. I'm Danny from Newborough Soap Company, just north of Kingston, Newborough, near Westport.
Excellent. Okay, good. Yes, we have Newborough clients, we have Westport clients. So I just dropped a link to the WeCan application process. If you go ahead, anyone here on the call today who, because we are under the current WeCan project, there is slightly different eligibility requirements, but it's basically women-owned businesses in the greater Kingston region. That includes Kingston, North, South, Prince Edward County. Really Kingston, of course, is the hub. And so right now we are prioritizing women in tech, Indigenous women entrepreneurs, women with a disability, newcomers to Canada, women under 40, rural women entrepreneurs, and women from racialized communities, and there might be one more. I'm sorry if I forgot. So basically, these are FedDev criteria that we have been operating under for 3 years. So it sounds like you would be eligible under that, and you could start today, basically, and start tapping into some of these resources. Thank you, Vanessa. Francophone women, LGBTQ2S community. So there's a number of what we call underrepresented, or as I like to say, underestimated women who we have been serving and who we will continue to serve. And so just because I didn't mention any of those specifics in the new eligibility criteria does not mean, of course, we're not serving them. So it's a priority and a big focus for us to make sure that women have access to resources, coaching, and of course, this community where, you know, any barrier that they might be facing, whether it's mindset, whether it's funding, whether it's, you know, just training of some kind, that we can say, let's work at taking that barrier down so you can just keep pushing past it. And so while we do not, and I should specify, give out funding, we do point our clients in the direction of many funding resources. And in the last 3 years, we've tabulated that that our clients have accessed more than $2.8 million in funding. That's from small grants, like, you know, for $5,000 grants to, you know, larger investment for tech businesses. So that's a part of what we do, is we help curate resources and point them in the right direction. So yes, I put the application there in the chat, and let me just do a quick explanation as well. Once you complete that application, if some of the questions don't apply to you, that's fine. You can skip them, okay? Because you might not be at the stage of business that's relevant. That's okay, as long as your contact information is there, etc. Once you apply, you're automatically going to get a second email that is the self-identification survey. All right. And that's where we ask those questions about which group do you qualify, etc. And if you don't, I'll respond either way. And then we can talk about, you know, April 1st, if you're not qualifying under the current project. Okay, so I see we do have a few more minutes. Thanks. That was a great question, Danny. And I like this idea of creating, she was even talking about brainstorming, you know, maybe some different types of spin-offs here that I don't necessarily need to be a part of them all. That's the amazing news, right? But it is helpful to have that accountability, right? And that's the one thing that sometimes we've seen people with great intentions, but then it doesn't keep up. I promise you, I am there every 2 weeks for those masterminds. And you know someone's going to be holding them, or coaching calls, whatever it might be. Okay, other questions that I might be able to answer? Ange, I see you're on the call. I don't know if you want to unmute and maybe just speak to what service you offer, and I can maybe see if there's others in the room in terms of, Angela is a part of the Queen's Partnerships and Innovation team. I referred to her. She assists women with patent and trademark information. Go ahead, Ange, just let us know how that's going to be.
So hello to all of you who I've had chats with. I see lots of familiar faces. I can help with branding questions. So things like coming up with a name for a new business. And when I say what we offer, please don't just take it in for your own business. You have lots of contacts and women who are interested in having side hustles. And so feel free to, I don't know, you could send me a link up on LinkedIn so that you know that intellectual property person at Queen's for any friends who need to have questions answered. So branding, things like coming up with a new name for a company. Lots of people sort of fall in love with a name and they don't do searching to see if they're going to get in trouble for infringement. And so it's like house buying. Try not to fall in love with the first idea, but let's search and see whether, you know, like, let's say you dreamt the word Xerox. Well, you can't actually go with that word, you know, a company owns that. And that might be the case for anything that you're coming up with. Like you have a friend do a drawing of a, I don't know, cute chipmunk in a tree and you want to make that your logo. We need to actually search and see what's going on with chipmunks in trees and who owns that in this country. Because even though you had an original drawing done, and so you think, how could it possibly copy somebody? Chipmunks, you know, they look kind of similar, and it could be confusing to the public if all of a sudden you have this logo and this other company has it and they own it in Canada. And so, yeah, you need to kind of think about the branding, name of the company, name of the product, and any logos. Yeah. I'm happy to talk about it, but also Kerry has facilitated us chatting and recording. So I have a couple of seminars on the YouTube channel about branding. And so it would be easy. Kerry, I don't know how handy you are at throwing things into the chat, but the YouTube channel link, and all you got to do is go into it and put either intellectual property or branding or Angela, and you'll come up with my couple of talks that might help you or a friend.
Yeah, so I'm dropping that into the chat right now.
Great.
This question, can Angela be reached only through LinkedIn?
So
No.
we recently had on your Facebook group, somebody was like, I think it was Kerry, saying you should ask Angela Lyon that. And the fact that she typed my name into that Facebook made it come up on my notifications.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm on your Facebook group. I'm available by email. I'm available by phone.
And I
doubt
should
you'll find
mention
my
that
Instagram.
I should mention, because Angela's time is obviously limited, you do have to be a weekend client and registered and eligible to work with her. And so that just makes sense. And that's why we have this process, because Ange can't possibly help 200 women, but you know, we can put them in priority order and get to as many as we can. But you do have to be registered to access her services.
And then
Awesome.
that YouTube channel is available for anyone that you wanted to send that link to.
Yes, absolutely. There's lots of women who aren't here today who we would love to have in the weekend community. This is not a clique. This is not a club with limited entrance. All right. This is to make Kingston the best place in Ontario for women to have a business, right? We want this to be a place that's welcoming and a culture of belonging, as my friend Ophelia says very often. All right. A couple more questions. Thank you, Ange, by the way. Over to Liz and then Nita.
So I find I'm getting a little bit confused by everything that's offered and how to access it. So I'm wondering if there's some sort of infographic or somewhere I can go to see all the programs and how to access.
That's a
different
great
ones.
question. So we
Yeah.
do have a website, but I'm not going to share that at the moment because it refers to the past, right? So as of April 1st, the new website will be happening. It will be going up and it will be spelling out everything. But the best place is the newsletter every Monday. So if you want to say what's open right now, what is relevant right now, that's where you want to just open that Monday newsletter and just keep on track that way, would be my first recommendation. But the website will be up for this transition period as of, I'm hoping, April 1st. That's the plan. There should be a seamless transition to that new website. Does that help, Liz?
That's perfect. I have a quick other question is on the information that's on Facebook and Instagram, is that pretty much the same as what's on LinkedIn and Twitter? Or should I join those two?
Well, it's up to, we do them all because some people only check LinkedIn. They hate Facebook. They don't have Instagram, right? Or they hate Twitter, right? So we put them all, the same information in all 4 places. And the reason is so that you can access it in the platform that works for you. So the only difference is the Facebook group. Okay. There's stuff happening within the community and the group that I do not post. I mean, I do approve all the posts, but women are posting questions like, does anyone have a referral for a great bookkeeper? I need a website designer. Are there any women in this group who do website design? You know, so that is not going to be anywhere else except the group. Okay. All right. Over to you, Nita.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Kerry. And also I have a question for Angela. That is that possible if we could get her contact or, you know, LinkedIn account here so we can just, you know, we don't have to search for it and, you know, it saves time.
So I'm putting it in.
Nita is a registered client. She's a new client. So in fact, Nita, if you just email me or oh, she's put it there. That's great. You can reach right out. So I'm confirming, Angela, that Nita is a client.
Okay, thank you. And I did look into the you know, growth wheel, and I didn't find any notes that you put. Like maybe I don't have the access. So if you could
Okay,
just,
yeah. So you and I had done a consult. Okay, yeah. Reach out to me and we'll make sure that you find the notes for that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
All right. Other questions about what's coming up? Now, I'm sorry if you put something in the Zoom chat. I have not looked at it yet. Oh, I didn't push. Actually, there you go. Sorry, I posted the YouTube, but I did not click return, so it did not show up. So the YouTube channel is there now. And so all of our recordings, whether it's today's recording or whether it's one of the 100 other recordings that we have done since COVID hit, they'll all be there. and there's some pretty amazing things. Let me just mention something about the YouTube channel. Someone is on the call today who recently was watching one, I think it was the Simplified Systems, and then reached out to me and said, hey, Kerry, I watched this, workshop that happened last year. In the workshop, they mentioned these handouts. Do you still have those handouts? She reached out. I'm like, of course I have the handouts. So I sent her the handouts, right? So if you're watching something, because I'm still around, obviously, I can get you the handouts if we had handouts that day. So this is meant to hopefully amplify your experience, in the project, even if you miss something, but I on that note, I will always say it's best to show up in person, and high five to every single one of you who showed up in person, because you get, that experience of asking questions, and it's different than when you watch a YouTube recording sometimes. But we also understand, like Jade with her little one might have gotten pulled away today. So if that's the case, we totally get that. All right,
Kerry, I've got one more example
Yes.
to tell you about. You guys know that
Sorry, you're
recently
freezing
one
up
of
on
the-
us, Ange.
Oh, am I? Oh, that's too bad.
Go ahead.
How-
It sounds better now.
Okay, one of the weekend clients recently put on the Facebook chat that she would love a contact in the radio ad space, because she feels like she's not getting as good a deal as she would if she was more knowledgeable going into the negotiation. And so, yeah, a lot of times we're able to help with introducing you to people with expertise in different fields. And so anytime you're stumbling like that, feel free to reach out to the group, because it's very powerful to have this many people with all of their networks available to you.
And someone in the chat had said, women supporting women. I love this. That is the feeling of this community, and that people can't wait to answer your question. And I don't usually have to. I mean, I definitely monitor the group, but there are other 14 people that will jump on and answer a question, typically if there's an answer to it, or if they have experience in that area. So definitely, if you're not already a part of that Facebook community, I'm sorry if you hate Facebook, but to pull you into it. But right now, that's the best resource we have, and most accessible, I will say also. All right, we do have a few more minutes remaining. Any other questions people might be wondering about? And I'll take a quick look on, let's see who's on the call here today. I know that some of our partners were going to try to attend. And I'm not seeing, I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anyone. Yeah. All right, so while we're just wrapping up, I will also mention that we do have, oh, thanks so much. There's a couple more, or a few more events that are coming up before we do wrap the project. There's, I believe, 3 more events. 2 of them are virtual and 1 of them is in person. And as I'm chatting, I am just grabbing the link so that hopefully if you aren't already signed up for one of them coming up, you can do so. So here we go. Here's a link to what is coming up. And so one of them is going to be our in-person wrap-up event. Now, it is almost full at this point. It's March 23rd. It's going to be held at Seaway Co-working in Kingston, downtown. And I have all the details are in the Eventbrite registration link. Our keynote speaker is Julie Ellis. She was the co-founder of Mabel's Labels. If you ever had those little labels that went in kids' clothing or on lunch boxes, she co-founded that company, which I believe now has been sold. And she has written a book called Big Gorgeous Goals. Everyone who comes to that event will get a copy of her book, as well as enjoying her keynote speech. And of course, it's meant to be a wrap-up celebration for the Weekend Project as we have known it for those past 3 years. If you're able to attend, we would love to have you there. Do sign up soon. Don't let it go, because we are limited in terms of space, and we are almost full. So definitely, if you want to come, if you have signed up and you know you're not coming, please just cancel it so that makes space for someone else. All right. Great questions today. And I'm always open to ideas. If you are thinking of something, you had this, oh, what about this? I think this would really enhance the next year. I haven't seen it. And I will underline, it's very affordable. Then reach out to me, because we want to be creative. We want to add value to this community. maybe you want to run some kind of like a brainstorming group or whatever it is. You know, there are ways to do that, and you don't necessarily need to have me there. And so, you know, but maybe you're looking for women to have a part of that group. That's where that Facebook group comes in, as far as I'm concerned. If you could post something in there and say, hey, I'm looking for 4 other women who want to meet on a monthly basis. Put your name in the chat if you're interested. I'll get back to as many as you know, go ahead. That's a place for you to perhaps gather some information, but it's not a place to sell. Okay, so that's important, that that community is there, not to sell our products and services, but it is there to build a stronger women-led business ecosystem. Ange, over to you.
I have asked you this before, but I need a refresher on the answer. Is there an ability to access a list of women-owned businesses in Kingston if you are interested to support women-owned?
Yeah, so we have explored this from many angles. And so what we have right now is the supplier diversity list, which is the WeCan list on the Queen's procurement website, which I will put in the chat here in just a moment. And so why I say that's the only list is because obviously we can't just go ahead and publicly publish the names of our clients and their contact information, right? So the ones that are on that list have agreed to be on that list. And I think there's over 120 of them, which is a fraction, of course, of the women we've served, but there's many women who don't want their information out there. I get it, and I respect that. But the ones who have said, I want to be contacted, right? So when I get that question now, thankfully, I do send them there. So it's not the entire community, but we have explored different ways with privacy and places to even put this list. And so this has been the best scenario for us, is to put, you know, those ones there. And like I say, we're interested in adding to it. I'll drop that in the chat in a moment. If someone asks a question, that will give me a chance to go and find it. So there's some incentive to ask perhaps the last question of the day. Who knows? Don't be shy. We're all friends here.
My house is noisy, but I'll ask another question.
Sure. Thanks, Jade.
So what, I guess, are some of the resources that you might have available? Because I'm like such a newbie to all of this stuff. For somebody who's trying to convert their leads into sales specifically.
Okay, so resources in terms of finding new leads, basically, increasing sales. No.
I guess increasing sales, yes,
Yep.
That would be more along the lines, yes.
So one of the things I would suggest is to book a one-on-one coaching call with me, and then we can look at, we do the growth wheel. And so anyone who's been through the growth wheel knows that there's a whole section on the growth wheel on, you know, leads and sales and revenue, right? So sometimes it's not the sales and revenue part that we need to pay attention to. It's actually, we realize, oh, there's 2 other things here that are stopping us before we get to that. So I would suggest a one-on-one call. And in the future, of course, it's great to be a part of something like a mastermind, because then you don't just get one girl's opinion, you get 10 women's opinion, and that can be really helpful as well. I know I'm talking a lot about the mastermind, but the cool thing about that as well is that we do hot seats, right, where people bring their challenge that week. But even if you're not on the hot seat that week, inevitably, the person who brings a question, it's a question that everyone realizes is relevant to them, and no matter what their business is. So it's kind of cool when you see that. Did that answer your question, Jade? There she is. Okay. Cody, over to you.
Hi, I'm very new as well. So just asking another services question. I was just curious if there's anything like services available for like facilities, meeting rooms, booking workshop space, that sort of stuff.
That's a great question. So we have Seaway co-working, but the agreement there is that it's for women in tech. So that is the requirement if you're going to be able to access a free space there, like I say, for free. Of course, there are co-working places around Kingston. They're absolutely remarkable. But the free ones, at least under this project until the end of March, are for women in tech. So if someone is eligible, then definitely reach out to me. Startup Runway is the other Queen's program we work with to enable access to that space. However, I mean, it's a great question, and co-working is something that is really powerful. And so if someone has some strategies or some creative ideas moving forward, then yeah, that's something we can definitely take a look at, how we could create. And we've talked about creating a co-working day, right? Maybe. And so that's something that I am planning on implementing, but we don't have all the I's dotted and the T's crossed yet. But co-working days is something, I'm making a note of it right now, Cody, so that I don't lose sight of that. I would love to have that. And then it's basically free access to a space. And so I would just have to coordinate that with the co-working space. Does that answer your question? I had no answer really. But.
Yeah, for sure. I've really been thinking about, because obviously working from home in a creative business, being able to take a meeting with a potential client or something outside of the office would be super helpful.
Absolutely. I mean, co-working spaces is something that I definitely suggest. If anybody has any other suggestions, definitely put them in the chat. Liz, over to you for a question, and then Emily. Sorry.
So who can I contact? I'm at the very early stage, and who would I contact for, say, doing a business plan, really getting started early? Would that be, yeah, who could I contact for that?
So Kingston Economic Development really specializes in the business plan. And I know that Pam Fountas, who has been around, some of you certainly would know her name. You can contact them to find out how she'll be involved, but she also will be involved, I believe, moving forward with women entrepreneurs at Kingston ECDev. So if you're looking for the business plan, but go ahead, reach out to me, Liz, because you're a weekend client and I can do a direct introduction. So you don't have to search for their email and all of that.
Okay.
I'll connect you with Norman today if you want, and you can start that. The other cool thing, just before we get to M, is that, of course, Kingston ECDev does something called Starter Company Plus, which will lead you through the business plan creation process. And then at the end of that, there's an opportunity. They have a limited number of grants for $5,000 to help get things going.
Okay.
So they only offer that at certain times of the year. But again, that's a great example of an organization in our community that, you know, it dovetails beautifully, but with what we're doing here. Thanks, Stacy. Yeah, it's Starter Company Plus. It's great. Stacy, I don't know if you can drop a link to that website to Starter Company Plus. That would be awesome. Okay, does that help, Liz?
Yeah, and who did you say you could get me in touch with? Like, is that by email?
Just reach out to send me an email and I'll connect you with them.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Emma, the last question is yours. Where'd she go?
Hey, Kerry. I did the Starter Company Plus program and it was really good. So just to say to that,
Okay.
I just had a question that I thought of just when you were answering the question about co-working spaces. And I'm wondering if there are any spaces or kind of rentals we can do through you for kind of doing photo shoots of products or kind of with models, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So basically photo shoots space, like the space or the photographer?
The space.
Yeah. Okay. And so leave that one with me. I've made a note as well that that's your question. I think that's a really great question. Not only I'm thinking product, but also headshots. I mean, I will just say at the March 23rd event where we wrap up, we're going to have free headshots that day. So if you're like, I need a new picture, then Ashley Clark will be doing those that day. But I know you're talking products, Em, so I really love that idea, and I don't see why we cannot pursue something. We do have access to a space because we are located above the Seaway co-working space. It's beautiful, it's light, all of these things. So just I have to pursue that and figure out how to make that happen. But leave it with me. I'm not making promises, but definitely I'm promising to get back to you with an answer. All right, thanks. Nita, really quick, because we're almost at our time, but go ahead, you have a question.
Yeah, so those who are working like from, their offices, like if they're interested in joining all these meetings or virtual meetings or in-person meeting, would there be an opportunity for them to join on weekends? Because like, it's pretty, like, it's not everybody's going to accommodate for those events and stuff. So like,
So true.
yeah. So are you looking into something like that? I mean,
Generally speaking, what we've found, and we've tested a lot of times over the last 3 years, we did things in the morning, in the evening, and different times. We found that the evening was one of the worst times for women because most of the times they've been working all day, and then many of them have families, and evening is family time. We also heard that weekends were family time, and so they didn't want to have things on weekends. We ended up with 10 a.m. on Thursdays. That's when we hold pretty much everything, but we record. And, except for the in-person things, we record, and that's sort of our way that we get around for all the folks who can't attend. But I'm making a note of that as well, perhaps offering something at a different time. And so I think that maybe that's a survey question that could go out because, so Nancy, the recordings are all on the YouTube channel, which if you scroll up in the Zoom chat, you'll find the link to the YouTube channel. So yeah, all of the recordings go on our YouTube channel, but the in-person things, of course, you can't replicate, and I understand that.
yeah, so like if you could make it, for exception for the in-person meetings,
Yeah.
maybe we can try
Yeah,
that,
it's a
right?
challenge because we put out surveys, and so we have to kind of go with what the majority is able to make. But I completely understand that there's people that work at 10 o'clock right now. They couldn't attend today. I totally get that. And it's just a matter of numbers, trying to accommodate as many as possible. And then for those who can't attend, trying to find some way to backfill that, right? And so in this case with recordings, that's why we also do so many virtual, because we know it'll be on the YouTube channel if you can't miss it. So that's why we are a little more sparing with the in-person. But I will say, Nita, that also remember, Weekend's not the only group. I know Kingston FedDev offers theirs in the evenings, for instance, and there's other groups that offer at different times. So if you're looking specifically for the in-person, we'll watch the newsletter because that's where we are going to put, other things. Okay, folks, am going to look at the Zoom chat after this call today. And to the best of my ability, I'll follow up with anyone if they had a specific question I didn't answer today. I just want to thank you all for being a part of this journey, whether you've been here since January 2020, 3 months before the world changed. I mean, that's when we started, right? You've been with us throughout it. Your businesses have either been birthed or they have changed, they have transitioned, or some of you are, like you heard, on the call today for the very first time. Wherever you are in your journey, this is an exciting path to be on. And the message today is you're not alone, okay? Weekend is here for you. These women in this room who you see who are absolutely amazing are here for you. And this is just the start, all right? So if you haven't really gotten involved with Weekend, this is your starting point. So welcome to it. And you have my email, definitely follow up. I'll do my best to get back to everyone today. All right, thanks everyone, and have a fabulous day. Looking forward to what's next. Take care.